Hello and welcome to DTV, your source for news and information about the Knox County Democratic Party. I'm Michael Davis, and I'll be your host for today's program segment with Matthew Park, candidate for the Tennessee House of Representatives, District 15. Unlike many of our state house races, the one for District 15 has a contested primary in August, and one that may very well be more decisive than the general election in November. One of those candidates is Matthew Park, and one of four hoping to take this seat in November. Matthew, thank you so much for being here with us today, and welcome to DTV.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here. Of course, we're still in social distancing mode, and we're doing this interview via Zoom, so thank you very much for accommodating that. We hope to get DTV back into the studio in the future, but for now, we're very happy that we can do it in this format. Thanks for being here with us. So I imagine along those lines, started having this campaign running during the middle of a pandemic is not how you envisioned it all unfolding when you decided to run. So tell us a little bit about how, what particular challenges that's presented for you and how things are going.
Absolutely. So one of the big things we've been pushing this entire campaign is government technology that works for everyone. So we've been talking about that since we started, and we've actually been able to prove some of that out as we've moved into the pandemic. We've pushed out systems to allow constituents to directly schedule meetings with me, drop a meeting on the calendar. You don't have to talk to anyone else. You can go to our website and push a button that says schedule a meeting with Matthew. We've been doing some really robust text banking, talking back and forth with people. We've talked to almost 10,000 people now just by those electronic means. So we've changed our campaign to focus on reaching out to people where they are, which is quite frankly what I think all government technology should do. So we've learned a lot. We've tested some things out. Some things have certainly failed. And we've gotten great input from the community on how we're communicating.
Okay. Well, that's great. Good to hear that people like you're in your campaign and others are looking for ways to solve problems through this crisis as it goes on. So what are some of tell us a little bit about your background. What are some of your experiences that have led you to seek public office?
Absolutely. So it started, I start this story out because I'm passionate about healthcare. One day I held my little brother after he was in a vehicle accident, and we were over an hour away, which anyone that's been in healthcare before can tell you about the golden hour of trauma and how you need to be at a healthcare center within that golden hour. So we were over an hour away. That was my first experience with the trauma system here in Tennessee. I was 10 years old at the time. That led to a passion in healthcare. I ended up becoming an EMT here, working for Rural Metro back before it was AMR, and seeing some real problems on the ground. How healthcare is delivered in people's homes, how it's delivered in hospitals or not delivered these days as we've got hospitals closing. And that led me I was moving into a technology career anyway, but that led me to spending the last about 10 years focusing on making healthcare cheaper with technology. So those experiences have led me to this place. As I look at big failures in government here in Tennessee, like the new TennCare system that was poised to kick off 220,000 children off of TennCare because of paperwork issues, and a government that is not willing to reach people where they are, like I talked about before. Over this time, that same little brother was a victim of the school to prison pipeline, being arrested in high school, and has spent the last 13 years or so in and out of the criminal justice system. Being in that and helping him where I could and interacting with other organizations let me know the mass incarceration system that we have. Let me know what the big issues were. Led me to become someone that's involved in the prison abolition movement. And that's a nationwide movement going on. I got to be in Jackson, Mississippi before everything shut down back in January, talking with prison abolitionists down there around the Parchman prison issue. We had people dying in prison long before COVID-19, and it's only gotten worse. So all these experiences wrapped up and looking at a state government that has kept Tennessee at the bottom of every good list and the top of every bad list, and we are continuing to regress. That's what led me to run for public office.
Okay. So what are some of the ways that you think practically that legislation or you as a legislator could have influence on changing some of these major things, such as prison reform, such as improving health care for the average Tennessean?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's no secret that when we win this election, we're going to be facing a Republican supermajority, most likely. I still have high hopes that people will turn out and will flip it, but we will most likely be facing this Republican supermajority. But the good news there, especially around criminal justice reform, is the governor is behind it. A majority of the people in the legislature are behind it. But I think that those people need to be guided to the real issues. So right now they're focusing on actual issues that are reducing recidivism and these treating the symptom type problems. But we need to look and say, what is the real cause of this? So legislation to help steer our judicial system, that instead of sentencing people to arbitrary time-based sentences, we can build out a system where a person is destined for treatment and transformation instead of just mindless incarceration. So instead of you'll be sentenced to 2 years for this arbitrary time for some crime that you've been convicted for, we'll sentence you to a transformation plan developed by mental health professional, substance abuse counselors, education professionals, and so forth. Mm-hmm. So that's one big way that I think that we can really change a lot of the downstream problems, is dealing with some of the issues around sentencing. But then when you get downstream, we can do things like ban private prisons here in Tennessee. That's a really easy thing that the legislature can do and should have done. So there are some big things there that I think that we can all agree on, and we're pretty close to agreeing on, but someone with a perspective of how the criminal justice system works and how mass incarceration destroys our communities needs to help guide other legislators to that position.
Okay. Just to follow up with that a little bit there, I know you've spoken about it a lot already. When you say prison abolition, I think to a lot of people that may sound like some sort of an extreme view. What is it really tied to in your view? Is it more about an alternative of rehabilitation instead of just pure incarceration? How do you define that?
Absolutely. So we are not, let me just say this, we are not saying that everyone should be able to walk around the public freely, right? What we're really saying is abolish the modern notion of a prison. So the modern notion of a prison is essentially an inhumane cage that you warehouse people in for a certain amount of time or the rest of their lifetime, with very little done for that person, very little humane treatment happening. So what we're saying is we don't even want rehabilitation, we want transformation. So we want people to be able to go into this system and have treatment and transformation over a period of time. Now, it's true that there are people that have committed certain crimes that have certain needs of treatment and transformation that will not be completed in their lifetime. And that may take that time. But when we look at what a prison should be, I point everyone to Halden Prison in Norway. So it's a very humane place. You treat people like people. Don't take away their human rights. They still get to vote when they're incarcerated.
Right.
But they're in this place where they can pursue treatment and transformation.
In terms of Tennessee's economic and business policy, how do you see that contributing to things that create the sort of environments that may cause people through poverty, through other means, to fall into that prison pipeline, or those situations of repeated incarceration?
Yeah, absolutely. So one is we have a regressive tax structure, right? We like to say in Tennessee that we don't have an income tax, but when you look at people that are living to paycheck, that sales tax that we have, that 9.75% sales tax, quickly becomes an income tax on the lowest tax bracket, the people that are living at or below the poverty line. So that's a huge economic policy that we need to change. The other thing is, as far as building up businesses to create good, high-paying jobs for our community. I talk every day with businesses located in places like California and New York that are looking for smaller cities to open up shop in, to open up a new headquarters, to open up a branch, or to even move their business. And they always ask me questions when I advocate for Knoxville, because I advocate for quality of life. I advocate for the Tennessee spirit. And they ask me, one, where's your power coming from? Because there's this new model in corporate America that you need to be part of the social justice movement and the environmental justice movement. So they ask me where the power comes from.
They mean literal electricity, not political power or anything.
Yeah, no, literal electricity. And then they ask me, what does equality look like in your state and your city? And unfortunately, I have to tell them, we have a 42% Black poverty rate here in Knoxville. We have a state legislature that just passed an anti-LGBTQ bill that allows businesses to discriminate. And a lot of Democrats even voted for that. So I have to tell them about these things. And then they ask me, what does your public transit look like? And then I have to be honest about the lack of our public transit system. So these are, I think, seeing our economy and our economic problems as a holistic problem, saying that we need more public transit. We need better equality. We need programs designed to help people in poverty start businesses, which is something that we don't talk about nearly enough. So seeing the economic issue as a holistic problem, I think will attract more businesses to Tennessee. It'll allow people to break the cycle of poverty, allow them to own homes, and move our state forward.
Okay, great. As always, these move by very quickly. So, we just got a few minutes left. Tell our voters how they can find out more about your campaign or even volunteer to help your efforts.
Absolutely. So we've published our entire platform on our website. And if there's something that's not on there, send us a message and we'll publish a policy on it. You can go to matthewpark.com. There's an issues button. You can see the whole policy there. Please sign up to volunteer, get a yard sign, and you can also donate if you're able.
Okay, great. Well, we've got just a couple of minutes left here. So anything else that you'd like to tell our voters about? I believe this is your first time running for office. So I'm sure that's a new experience, but let our vote. What would you like to tell our voters about what it would look like with you in our state house and the kinds of policies, kinds of laws that you'd be arguing to instate?
Absolutely. So I'm running on a platform of courageous progress, a platform of saying, here's where we need to go and here's how we get there. We have all the plans to make this courageous progress happen. We have the ability to negotiate and to build relationships when we get there to help pass these laws. What you're going to see from me, if we're elected, you're going to see immediately our Black agenda be filed for introduction. You're going to see the Tennessee Green New Deal be filed for introduction. And you're going to see a robust business plan and a lot of human rights packages be filed for introduction on day one.
Okay. Well, best of luck to you and your campaign. Matthew, thank you so much for being here with us in this Zoom version of DTV. And thank you so much to all of our viewers for checking out Matthew Park and his campaign and staying with us here at DTV as we navigate through this pandemic. As always, we hope that you're being safe out there, and we hope that you stay tuned to DTV for our future segments on more candidates running for office this election season. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Matthew. I'm Michael Davis, your host for DTV today, and thank you for watching.